Peace, Queens. Thank you for coming over here again and spending your time with me, your girl healer Tiffany, joining me on my channel for our self-love series. As you can see, I have my little classroom section set up. I'm standing up because I might write on the board. You might not can see the letters that well on the board, but I'm definitely going to be going over it. These are the 3 prompts that we went over last week in regards to creating affirmations that we can build on and start working on to ultimately get us to investing that time into ourselves, tapping into our inner divinity, right? Our divine feminine power. So let's just get straight to it. If a lot of you guys joined me last week, then you remember that we had 3 steps that I said, let's write down, take a moment, let's jot down 3 particular steps that you want to focus on and things that you can work on for yourself to tap into your inner divinity. And I gave certain examples of one way to do that, on how to do it, as it's like a process of 1 takes you to 2, 2 takes you to 3, where it leads you up to like these short-term goals, so to speak, right? These affirmations. So I just wanted to share with you mine to give you a better kind of insight on how we can, imagine working through that, right? So my first one was create firmer boundaries. That's what that says. If you can't see it, don't worry about it. I'm telling you the truth. That's that's really what it says, okay? Create firmer boundaries. And for me, that would be like standing firm. And when I say something, standing firm in that. If I say no, I'm also letting myself know that it's okay to say no, that I don't have to always be available, and that I don't have to always give an explanation for the reason why I said no. That's one example. Creating certain boundaries or firmer boundaries that are important to me, to whereas I won't feel like I gave too much of myself in order to be there for someone else. Because I am an empath, because I am someone who's, tapped into energy, then I can pick up on the energy of other people. And growing up, I wasn't always certain on why do I have this gift? Why am I so sensitive to other people's energies? And until I became aware of my spiritual gifts and abilities as an intuitive and as a healer, then I realized that I have to protect myself, protect my energy and my space as well. I can't always be available for people, even if I can feel what they're going through. And that's what an empath is. You have empathy for people because you feel that, right? So for me, creating firmer boundaries is not always, trying to show up for other people, because I need to show up for myself first and foremost, right? And then especially when it's not reciprocated. If I'm always, being available and offering myself to other people in a way where it's not reciprocated, then where is that exchange of energy? So I don't want to be taken from. I don't want someone to always take from me. I want someone to be able to feed me as I'm feeding them as well, energetically speaking, spiritually speaking, right? And even sometimes, even if it is reciprocal, that it's still okay for me to say no. So for me, my number 1 would be creating firmer boundaries, okay? And then for that to carry on in number 2, as I said, would make it kind of be like a process, right? Create firmer boundaries. And by creating firmer boundaries, I'm standing in my power, So not only am I creating firmer boundaries for myself, doing that asserts my power within my divinity that allows me to stand firm, stand tall, stand in my power, stand in my assurance that I am comfortable with what I did, what I said, and how I feel. And moving forward, that I made the right decision for myself. And then I am also recognizing that power that is within me, right? And affirming that and asserting that and not being ashamed to do so, okay? So by 1 helps me and leads me into 2. And then my 2 helps me with my 1, and my 2 leads me into 3, which encompasses 1, 2, and 3. So my third is, by me creating firmer boundaries and standing in my power, I'm assuring that when those boundaries are crossed, that there will be consequences. And I know that sounds harsh, right? But what I mean by consequences is that you set certain boundaries so they're not crossed over, right? And if they happen to be crossed over, you have to assert yourself stand in your power. These are my examples of letting someone know that you crossed over a firm boundary that I set, which was to protect myself, my energy, my peace, my sanity. And you stepped over that boundary. So that consequence would be one of them per se, you will not have access to my energy. I will not give you access to that. And because one of the things I know about myself also in standing in my power is that my energy is very dynamic. My energy feels very good to those around me. And I'm not saying that in a very cocky way, but I know that my energy, a lot of people feed off of that. It's just something that I have within me. And then all the work that I've been doing on myself, when I am allowing my light to shine out and not being, recluse or secluded or rejuvenating and taking my time to myself where no one has access to me, period, point blank, except like my kids, right, or what I choose to share. But when I am standing and allowing my aura to shine out, as if right now in this very moment, right, that energy is very beneficial to a lot of people and others who may witness that I was going to say exhibition, but witness that example or that display of confidence within myself, right? That inner divinity within myself. So if someone crosses over those boundaries, one of the consequences will be you will not have access to my energy. I'm not going to allow you to keep feeding off of me like an energy vampire so you can feel good, because if my energy feels good, right, you're not going to have access to me. That is one of the consequences for not respecting my boundaries or crossing over those boundaries, right? Does that make sense? Okay, and that's just an example. So by me creating firmer boundaries is allowing me to stand in my power. And by creating firmer boundaries and standing in my power, I'm also doing that by assuring that when those boundaries are crossed, that there are consequences. That I am making sure that I let whoever the person is that crossed over the boundary know that this is not okay. You crossed the boundary and you will not have access to me or my energy. Right? Or I will no longer do this for you. Or until you can learn to respect my boundaries and where I'm at, then X, Y, and Z. Does that make sense? So how I said, okay, we got 1, 2, 3. Those are the 3 things I said, jot down, right? Make it be to like a process where they all kind of go together and it builds up, right? You may work on one by one, you may work on them all together, but make it to where as they all come together, like how I wrote these arrows. 1 goes into 2, and then 2 goes into 3. But not only 2 goes into 3, 1 and 2 equates to 3 as well, right? So in this, you have allowed yourself to create some healthy affirmations or goals that will assert your femininity, assert your divinity, your power within yourself, and in a way that you're comfortable with doing that, okay? So I just wanted to quickly go over that for this session with our self-love, because one of the things that I realize is that a lot of the times as women, especially when we're mothers, we find ourselves giving so much of ourselves to other people, okay? Whether you are business owner, you work a 9 to 5, you're in corporate America, you are a housewife, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, because child, I was a housewife, okay, for many years. As I stand here today, I stand here as a single woman, very confident in my position as a single woman, but I'm single by choice. So I'm not here to persuade anyone to do anything that doesn't feel natural for your growth, your evolution, your journey, your path, right? All I want to do is empower you as a woman, as someone who is a goddess for sure, and to tap into that divinity, that inner divinity within yourself, to allow it to shine outward and to stand in your power, to stand in your glory, right? To stand in your divinity and to have that inner peace within, while you're working and demonstrating that self-love, so that way others can see that I love myself enough this way, then you're going to have to love me the same way, right? You teach people how to love you. And if you're not showing up for yourself, how do you expect for someone else to show up for you how you would want them to? Okay? So that's what this whole series is about, right? So every week we'll get into these little sessions where it may be 10, 15, 20 minutes depending on the topic. But this week I specifically just wanted to focus on the 3 prompts that were mentioned in last week's video, and just to give us an example of how to work through that, okay? And this is something that you should be constantly working on. This is something that you want to create for yourself, develop within yourself, and constantly be working on it. Because it should build your self-esteem up, right? It should help you on your path to self-care, to self-love, and building yourself up, okay? So that is the entire purpose of this talk show series, right? Your self-love and your divine feminine, right? And so I thank you all for being here with me again for this week's series, right? And I hope you'll come back next week and join me again. And if you want to, you can head over to my YouTube channel and check out some of my other videos that I do have, as I will be doing some readings today. I know I'm going to be doing fire signs, Sagittarius, Leo, and Aries. So if any of those signs resonate with you, you might want to go check those out, or check out some of the other readings I have on there, okay? But with so much love, peace, light, joy, and happiness, Ashe, blessings.